what is your philosophy for goal setting right now, and how has it changed over the past few years?
So this is what I'll spend the lion's share of my time in the TED Talk talking about. It has always been set big goals and push yourself to achieve them. And what I'm going to talk about is this never be satisfied cycle that we are indoctrinated into, having lived in the US for as long as we have, where we're in this cycle of set a goal, push yourself, achieve it, but don't get satisfied. Just set another goal, push yourself, achieve it. Nowhere in this cycle is there room for satisfaction. And that's just the reality of the world that we live in. As I recognized that, this came out of having finished the Vipassana retreat. I got to the end of 10 days. I had finished what to me was the tried and true way of resolving my mental health issues. And I came out worse than I was going into it. And the big realization there was that it was the problem was that I had set a goal in the first place. The goal was to complete the Vipassana. The expectation was that there was going to be satisfaction as a result of it. And the way that I've adapted my mental health practices or just daily habits has been making them into habits as opposed to goals. So people talk about intentions over goals. People talk about micro goals. People talk about systems. The other book recommendation I'm going to throw at you is Atomic Habits, James Clear. If you haven't read it already, okay, you're nodding.
Yeah.
But for other people out there, holy cow, I cannot recommend this book enough. Maybe I'll come back to that in a second. Point being, we spend so much time fixating ourselves on the actual goals that we want to accomplish. It does not matter to us how we get there. And think about how paradoxical that is for meditation. I was sitting there in this meditation hall for hours upon hours, just thinking about day 10. How am I supposed to be present and get the intrinsic value of meditation when I'm focused on something that's going to happen 9 days from now, right? So my whole philosophy for goal setting started changing in the realm of mental health, and then it's just changed to all aspects of my life. But the reason that you ever feel dissatisfaction or failure in life is because you set a goal in the first place. What happens if you, A, had something to celebrate every day, and B, did not feel like you were failing larger goals? The most successful people you see out there aren't successful just because they set these super lofty goals and at all costs just fought to achieve them. By the way, that might work for some people, but check in with them, say how they're doing, and they'll probably have a 2-hour therapy session for you. The people that are truly successful are the folks that, first of all, hit this point, which is how can I adapt myself from big, lofty goals to smaller micro goals, little habits that I can have on a daily basis, but push me in the directions that I want to go in. Every musician can tell you this. They didn't want to win a Grammy. They love making music, and they played every day, and they happen to win a Grammy because of it.
I have two things to say here. The first one that I want to mention is from another podcast episode with my buddy Quentin, who was on. He recently graduated from High Point, but he had an interesting way of setting goals. He likes to think about it as setting milestones instead of goals. So basically, having almost like a bigger goal that he could look after and like kind of go after, but then to also give himself that satisfaction of like actually completing things and becoming getting closer to the goal that he has. He would set milestones in for different things along the way. So whenever he hits this, then he'd hit the milestone, be able to celebrate a little bit, and then be able to continue to move forward towards that bigger goal. So I think that adds in that sense of achievement that we lack, the satisfaction sometimes. It's something that I've started to do a little bit now, but I like your point to having almost like a goal, have the habits be goals that you kind of try and hit every single day, to where then it builds up to hit these other milestones and hit these goals that you would have that is larger. So you can get that satisfaction easier, I think, is kind of what we're going off of. And then the second thing that I also think correlates, sorry, correlates is this law, the law of detachment, which is the sixth law in the seven spiritual laws of success by Deepak Chopra. It's one of my favorite books. And what it basically states is that, I'll read you it, I have it up. It says the law of detachment says that in order to acquire anything in the physical universe, you have to relinquish your attachment to it. It says you give up your attachment to the result. You don't give up on the intention. You don't give up the desire. And I think it's it's interesting that you say this stuff because it's almost like what you said for your mental health and like not having goals for it. It's like giving up the need to have everything be completely perfect and executed exactly the way that it needs to be done. And then that allows you to just do what you need to do to get to what you want rather than obsessing over the fact that it needs to be a certain way and you have to have it like this, because as long as you have it open for a period of time of it's like I'm just going to continue to work towards this, and you detach from when it's going to end up being done, when it's going to like the exact way that it's going to be achieved and whatnot, then you allow yourself to be open, be detached from things, and just almost attract what you want into your life.
The best thing I ever did for my mental health was realize that my mental health will never be perfect. The best thing I did for my depression was say that my depression will never completely go away. And it was such a ugly, seemingly paradoxical thing to have to reconcile, but it's because of everything you just talked about. The minute you detach yourself from that ultimate goal, you can actually start making progress towards it. And then on the second point of your buddy talking about milestones instead of goals, I completely agree. So I quickly teased Atomic Habits by James Clear. He essentially spends his book, first of all, detailing why it's so important to build daily habits and how it is the cornerstone to deep fulfillment and satisfaction with life. And then he talks a lot about needing to have something to celebrate every day. So if I want to get in better shape, maybe I want to run a marathon. Focus so much more on the things you do on a day-to-day basis. Make sure they're small enough for you to habituate, because it's those small changes that can compile into big changes in the long run. And celebrate them every day. What you're not doing is, oh, I didn't run a marathon today. Real bummed about it. No, you're celebrating that little run that you did. So I'm glad that your buddy's got that mindset. I think it's really important for other people to get to. But the other piece is trying to be so much more content with not running a marathon. What I stress more than anything is not to have the expectation of satisfaction once you achieve the goal.